So I've been working every day this week trying to get out these videos and stuff, and a movie happened to sneak by that I just couldn't pass up, even for the novelty of the fact that it's the sequel of one of my favorite animated movies of all time, Finding Nemo, and of course the novelty of, it's fish, of course.
The pipes are coming. Oh, Jesus, me eyes! Oh, God, me skin! Just peeling me skin!
But, anyways, I was working on all this stuff in between shifts, and it's been crazy, and I hadn't been getting any sleep, and I go to the theater grumpy as a clam, but this movie has been getting really good reviews. And so I went to this movie because I just had to see what all the fuss is about, see if I'd like it as much as these reviewers did. And there's been a few movies which have been very overrated, and I expected this to be one of them, which was like the Jungle Book remake, which I thought was overrated. It's still good, but it was super overrated. I expected this movie to be a cash grab. I didn't like any of the trailers very much. I thought they were a bit eh. And I thought this was just going to be a cash grab, but I did some digging before seeing this movie, and holy crap, $200 million budget. Like, wow, that is some crazy money they sunk into it. And apparently they were working on this movie for the past 5 years. And wow, it's been 13 years since Finding Nemo. So how does this hold up? That's Duke Nukem Forever levels of hype waiting there. But they got back a lot of the old actors, including the original Nemo, believe it or not, who's now playing a truck driver, I believe, in the movie. And the passion is there. Like, you could tell these people still wanted to be in the movie. They still wanted to do it, even if the producer, I believe it was, said he was sick of Finding Nemo, even with making the original one. But I'm just gonna say it right now. I think it's an excellent sequel.
Today's the day! Our field trip to the Stingray Migration.
Stingray Migration.
Migration is about going home, which is where you're from.
How do the stingrays all know where to go?
Instinct, something deep inside you that feels so familiar that you have to listen to it.
My mom, my dad, I have a family.
We will never forget you, Dory.
What if I forget you?
I miss them.
I think it's not the most exceptional sequel. It doesn't really exceed beyond the original movie, but it is 100% satisfying, which is so rare in a sequel. Like, you often have the sequelitis with diminishing returns, but this one manages to stay like 99.5% as good as the original, I would say. I'd say it lives up to the original. It's better in some ways and worse in other ways, but altogether I think it goes in a different enough direction from the original to be a good movie in and of itself.
I remembered something. That's not possible. Is it? Okay, is it like a picture in your head and then you think I've seen this before? I just used the word before, which means I'm remembering something. What was I talking about?
And I really liked it. So same characters from the first one, with a few that don't make an appearance this time around, and a few new ones. And I had to say, the octopus is probably one of the best characters, if not the best. One of my favorites. He's really awesome. And he almost kind of reminds me of Octodad. He's like a feral version of Octodad, going around doing all these crazy,
like how my legs
crazy
just
things that
listen
an
through
octopus shouldn't be able to do. But he's a lot more competent than Octodad, if you've ever played that game.
Oh, wow.
He's even the same color. He looks very similar, but Yeah, there's some character arcs, like especially with him, I'd say the most. He starts off as a jerk, and by the end of the movie, he's a nice guy. And this movie does have like some like sad moments where like people are just kind of really mean to Dory for the first half of the movie. Sorry to say, this isn't much of a feel-good movie until the very end of it. It's very what's the word I'm looking for? It's very brooding for the first half, where it's just Dory doesn't really have any friends. It kind of goes into prequel status at the start, where you have little Dory growing up and nobody wants anything to do with her, and she's struggling just to try and find out where her parents are, and people don't even want to talk to her, and she's got her memory problem. But the movie's also kind of sweet. It's like a double-edged sword, except that sounds horrible, because yeah, it's nice all around, but these people are mean to Dory, but she has her short-term memory problem, and she doesn't really cling on to the mean things that happen to her. She kind of starts to redevelop her memory. She gets better at remembering things, but more so when she's like in a good mood or when people are nice to her. So she remembers nice things really well by the end of it, but she kind of forgets mean things. She kind of like basically lets it go, like with the octopus guy who's being a complete dick. She lets it go, and he's nice by the end of the movie. And everyone's nice by the end. They're all mean to her, even Marlin, who doesn't even want to go on this trip. That's why you go on trips, so you never have to ever again, he says. But it's a solid movie, you know. Even the title I thought was I was like, seriously, they're rehashing the same movie? No, not at all. Slightly, it's different enough. It's different enough of a story, different character that they focus on, and they work through her problem, and it's good.
I don't want to be touched. Sorry.
That's okay. Everybody does it. Nothing to be ashamed of.
I have to say, very, very, very good sequel. Very satisfying. Almost a perfect example of how to do a sequel properly. Because Cars 2, that's the example of how not to do a sequel properly. The Good Dinosaur is an example of how not to do a movie in general. But yeah, I'd have to say this is probably one of my favorite animated sequels. I think I liked it more than I liked Shrek 2. I really liked Shrek 2. Actually, I haven't seen it since I was a kid, so I'm a bit concerned that maybe my tastes have changed since then. Maybe I'll regret saying I liked Shrek 2, but great movie. Has I'd say it has sharper humor than the original. The humor's better.
I'm sorry, I gotta blink. How do you hold your eyes open that long?
I'd say like I thought it was pretty clever at times, like especially with the octopus, since he's got his camouflage, he can change to different colors and stuff. I thought they did some pretty awesome stuff with that. Like he's carrying Dory in this coffee pot, and he's holding it up so she can decide, like he's holding it up to a map so she can decide which place she wants to be dropped off at, because he wants her tag, because her tag means that she's going to get shipped off to some other place, but she wants to get rid of her tag so she can stay around and look for her family. They're at like a marine place, like an aquarium sort of place where Sigourney Weaver basically fixes up these sick fish and sets them free again. But her parents are from this place, so she wants to stay here and find where her parents are. And this octopus wants out. But with her short-term memory, the octopus guy gets pretty pissed off. But he's helping Dory by holding her up against this like map, and there's a guard behind him, and the guard starts turning around, and Dory's getting distracted, and she hasn't even decided yet. So in order not to get caught, the octopus slides into the coffee pot. Like it's a planter, and he turns green, so he looks like a tentacly flower, and it's really great, or a tentacly plant, and it's a really great scene. They do quite a bit of clever stuff like that, and none of that stuff shows up in the trailer. They save most of the best parts of the movie for the movie, which is really weird because I thought it was going to be a crappy movie judging from the trailers, and I couldn't have been more surprised actually seeing the movie that they saved the best moments for the actual movie, because that's kind of unheard of. That's almost weird business marketing, but a very, very good movie. I would highly recommend it.
Poor babies. Let me get that for you. Woo!
The plot is pretty good too. I mean, it's pretty standard for a kids movie. It's solid enough to stand its own ground. I'd say compared to most of the other movies I've recommended, I know I've done a lot of animated movies so far. I'm probably going to change it up, and I've recommended pretty much every movie I've reviewed so far, but that's kind of just because I've been more inclined to review the movies I like, because I think it's a bit more work reviewing a movie that you dislike, not to sound too lazy, but another movie I like, but stay tuned because there's been movies that I've really disliked as well, and I'll get to those eventually. But compared to the other movies, I'd say this is probably the most family friendly. Like Angry Birds had its fair share of Animaniac style innuendos. This movie completely clean. You could be the most sensitive family in the world, and I can't see how anybody would get offended at this movie. It's a very nice movie, and it plays it safe, and it does a really good job. Very clean humor, quite witty. Very, very, very good sequel that adds to the Nemo cinematic universe, if I may say, and it ties into the previous film really well too. It kind of fills the gaps between and sandwiches it across the two movies. And yeah, I don't know what else to really say about it. Oh, I guess the poster for it that I saw was kind of creepy. The big round eyes and her hiding behind the reef or whatever that was. It felt a little too reminiscent of some really creepy game that I got a little obsessed with at one point. But yeah. Actually, I do have one thing to complain about. There's way too much plot convenience in the movie. I know it's kind of going for that for its humor for most of it, but it's insane the amount of Deus Ex Machina that happens throughout this movie. They should have died at every scene. There's one ridiculous scene where Nemo and his dad, I forgot what his name is already. They're stuck. Okay, I should go through the whole scene because it's so ridiculous. They got this stupid bird carrying them in a bucket to try and find Dory, and the bird gets distracted, leaves them on a tree branch to go eat popcorn that's been dropped on the ground. And Nemo and his dad start sliding this bucket down the tree branch to try and get closer to get the bird's attention, but then the branch somehow flings up and flings them like 20 feet into the air all the way across the park, basically. Well, across the street, pretty much. Right into a small fish tank, luckily enough, or else they would have suffocated and died slowly and painfully, surely. But not only that, they get out of this tank by hopping out of it, because they got these little fountain jet things at this nearby water park, and they bounce off these water jets one by one to try and make it into the pond across the way. But the last jet isn't in sync, so they just flop onto the ground. And they have to flop all the way over to this jet, and they just like barely make it and get flung right into the pond. And there's no way that they would have survived any of that. It's so unbelievable that it kind of takes you out of the movie a bit. But if you can get over that, I'm sure the first movie had a lot of that as well. I wasn't as snobbish about it as I am now as a man child, because yes, all of you who were kids watching Finding Nemo who are coming back for this sequel, congratulations, you're a man child, because that movie's that old now. So unless you're a girl, then it's okay. But you know, feminism, it works. So that's how it works. Gender equality, men are lesser, that's what gender equality is. But anyways, great movie. 4 stars out of 5. Finding Nemo, actually no, I'll say both the movies 4.5 stars out of 5. I'll keep it simple, because this really does hold up to the original in ways that very, very minimal amounts of sequels have. It's not Terminator 2 levels of sequel awesomeness, but it's pretty darn close, I'd say, personally. But I do have sort of a bias when it comes to animated movies, to say the least. And I guess Fish kind of ups it a bit too. Not all that much though. I mean, animation's really nice, really impressive as always, and voice acting's great. But it's going on a bit longer than I anticipated, so gonna bring it home with a special guest that I've brought along with me. So everybody, please welcome the Ocean Drake. So I guess I could say Finding Dory was a Dory.
Stinks down here like you need to do the dishes. This Tom kid